Hello, my name is Julie, and I have 22 series that I might DNF. So one of my big goals for this year is to decrease the number of series I'm in the middle of. Last year, I started actually keeping track of it with a spreadsheet that I made. I started off 2024 with 51 series I was in the middle of, and throughout the year, I ended with 52, which is really frustrating. So this year I want to actively decrease that number through a couple different ways. Starting fewer series, working on continuing and catching up on series that I am in the middle of. And then also DNFing series that I have lost interest in or aren't for me, or it's just been a really long time. I have too many series that I'm in the middle of to talk about every single one of them today, so I am just going to be focusing on the 22 that there is a chance that I am not going to finish these, and I would love your input based on maybe your own experiences with the series, and then maybe based on what I'm saying, which of these should I let go? And which of them do I absolutely need to continue on in? I am planning on doing a video soon where I am going to be trying to get through a ton of these series and decide if I'm going to continue on in them, so look out for that. But let's start out with the series that I have read from the most recently and go backwards into the series that I have not touched for the longest. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the synopsis of the book, but mostly about my own experience in it, how far I'm in the series, and why I might be thinking about DNFing. First up, we have the Witcher series by Andrzej Sapkowski. It's about our main character, Geralt of Rivia, who is a Witcher, who is a genetically enhanced person who is designed to kill monsters. There's very few of his kind left. They're kind of seen as outsiders, and it's all a very dark fantasy world. I am 2 books into this 8-book series, and the first 2 books in the series are short story collections, and the rest are novels. Although I think I remember hearing something about maybe there's gonna be more books in this world. I don't know if it deals with Geralt, if it's supposed to be a direct sequel. I don't know, I'm ignoring it for right now. The second book in the chronology is actually the first book that was written. So the 2 short story collections, you actually read them out of publication order. I liked the one that was first, that was published second. I thought that was much better. It felt fairy tale and I liked the tone of it. Book 2, however, if this had been the first book that I had read from this series, I would not be continuing on. I didn't really love the themes of the short stories, and out of I think there were 8 in the book, I think there were only 2 that I liked. I think I am going to continue on to the 3rd book and the first novel, Blood of Elves, and see if I like this world in a novel form, and if the writing has improved, because I did see improvement between the first book published and the second book published. However, I did reach out to my friends on Instagram and ask, hey, of all these series that I have, which of these do you think I should DNF and which of them do you think I should keep? And the series on that list that the most people thought I should DNF was actually The Witcher. But I have decided to give book 3 a try. I just think there's a good chance I might DNF after book 3. Then we have the Shadow of the Leviathan series by Robert Jackson Bennett, starting with The Tainted Cup. Only the first book is out. I think by the time that I publish this video, the second book in the series might have just released, A Drop of Corruption. This is a fantasy mystery series that is sort of Holmesian. Our main character is the Watson character. They have this ability to just kind of memorize details and be very good as an assistant to a detective. They were trying to solve a string of deaths in book 1, and I loved the world in book 1. I thought it was fascinating. It was such a good crossover between fantasy and sci-fi, and I really liked the first part that I read, and the further I went, the less interested I was in the mystery. I didn't feel engaged. I didn't feel like I was able to guess things. I felt like we were still exploring this fantasy world, and I didn't know where all of the boundaries of what could happen were. Nobody's really read book 2 yet, so it'd be hard for people to tell me not to continue on, but I think I have gone back and forth on whether I want to do this. I have started 3 Robert Jackson Bennett series, and one of them I've properly DNF'd, another one is later on this list, and then there's this one, and all of them I'm like, I don't care about his characters. And there's only one book of his that I have given more than a 3-star. Is Robert Jackson Bennett just not for me? despite me loving his world building. However, it's a very good chance that that book is going to make it into the Goodreads Choice Awards, so maybe I'll make myself read it anyway. Then we have another trilogy with only one book out, but the second book is coming out very soon, and that is the Sandseed trilogy by Chelsea Abdullah, starting with Stardust Thief. This is a 1001 Nights inspired series. It's very action-packed and kind of sits at the intersection of YA and adult. There are smuggler characters, there are princes, assassins and djinns and all that sort of thing. I read this with my book club, and I think just the common consensus was like, yeah, it's fast-paced and action-packed and, you know, easy to get through. The character development was a little bit sacrificed. Like, I don't feel strongly about these characters. I think I might wait to see reviews of book 2 if it seems to be an improvement upon book 1, but honestly, I'm just not too pressed. Then we have the Kingdom trilogy by Bethany Jacobs, starting with These Burning Stars. I read this for my Booktubers Best of 2023 video. This is a sci-fi series. It's like a cat and mouse chase where there is these two people who are involved in the kingdom, this empire that has taken over all these different groups, has been oppressing the specific ethnic group, and just trying to extract all the resources it can. There are two people who are warriors slash investigators, justices, who are trying to track down this person who used to be a part of them. They are hunting down that person. There's also some sort of hacker who is trying to mess with the system and free these people who are oppressed. This was another one of those books. I kept having them where like the beginning of the book I was really hooked and it lost me by the end of it. I think I was trying to read this book too quickly, and so I wasn't absorbing everything as much as I could. There were things to like, and there were things that I just didn't think were expanded upon enough. However, there was a plot twist that totally took me for a loop. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe I do want to continue on in this series. And then on the Goodreads reviews for book 2, almost every single one of them says it has second book syndrome. And I'm like, if people who loved book 1 don't like book 2, maybe I shouldn't be continuing. Then we have the Murderbot series by Martha Wells. This is mostly a series of novellas. There are 9 books planned, there are 7 books out, and I have read the first 3. All of these audiobooks are around 4 hours long, so since I listen to them on 2-speed, it literally takes me 2 hours to listen to it. It's easy that I could finish them in a day or 2 max. This is about our main character, Murderbot, who is sort of a mercenary type robot, but all Murderbot wants to do is watch its dramas online and doesn't really want to interact with humans or everything, and there are some things that have happened in Murderbot's past that it's not entirely clear on what happened, and so each of the books has been getting a little bit more information about that. I am not a person who traditionally loves novellas. There are very few novellas that I feel like should continue to be that length. And for Murderbot, I have read 3 of the books. Book 2, I thought was great. I give it like a 4.25. I loved the specific plot of book 2, but the other 2 books I gave a 3. I kept feeling like I had missed something. I literally just kept reversing, being like, oh, I must have missed something, and I didn't. I mean, I think book 6 or 7 is the first one that is a novel, and I think I would enjoy that more. However, these things are so short, and they're all available from my Libby, that I'm like, why would I DNF it if they're so short and really convenient to read? Then we have the Legends of the First Empire series, which I also read for that Booktubers video. This is a 6-book series that is a prequel to another series written by this author that has like a traditional fantasy setting. So this series, like 1,000 years beforehand, is like a Bronze Age type setting, which is an interesting setup. I was told that this was such like an epic fantasy series, and then I read this book and nothing fucking happened. I was so happy that this was just available with my audiobook subscription for free, like I didn't have to use a credit. And then that changed and it's no longer a thing. I was like, I'm not gonna listen to the rest of the series. And then with a new library system that I have on Libby, I actually can get the graphic audios of this series. So it's like fully produced with sound effects, and the actors are like acting things out more than a normal audiobook. So I originally was just gonna write this series off because I thought it was boring and I wasn't attached to the characters, but I'm like, okay, if I can approach it in a different direction with these graphic audios, maybe I'll like it more. I've never actually read a thing that called itself a graphic audio, so I don't know if it's going to be for me or if it's going to be too distracting. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Then we have the Bloodsworn Saga by John Gwynne. This is a series like vaguely inspired by Norse mythology. There are like all of these different like bands of people who are slowly coalescing on this one point as they're trying to find this like war site of the gods. I and my friend both read this around the same time, and both of us rated this 3 stars and were like, man, I just wasn't attached to this. It was really hard for me to pinpoint what didn't work for me. And I have heard from other people that this series massively improves as it goes along. Then we have The Fireborn Blade by Charlotte Bond. This is a duology of novellas, both of which came out last year, and I read the first one on ARC from Tor. This is about a female knight, which is not very common, and she has been disgraced from the knighthood, and she is trying to take back her honor by killing a dragon. But like half of this novella is also like historical inserts from people who have already died. People's ghosts kind of stay where they died and kind of replay their death over and over again. So there's fun, interesting fantasy stuff. And I knew that this book was going to be short. I just didn't expect only like half of the time we're spending in this very short time to be with our main character. I don't even get a whole novella following our main character. If this book had decided to be 300 pages and had the amount of world building it had, I feel like it would be more proportional. However, number 1, the plot twist at the end of this book got me. Number 2, it is only a duology. Number 3, that second book is also a novella. It's short. I could just finish it. I could just knock it out. And I'm curious to see, like, there's a relationship that's going to happen in the second book, and I'm interested in that. I don't know. Then we have the Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir, starting out with Gideon the Ninth. I have read the first 2 books in this series. The pitch of it is like lesbian necromancers in space in a haunted house murder mystery. These books are some of the most uniquely written books I've ever read. They are purposefully obfuscating information, and they are like trying to trick you. They're written like not in a straightforward way, and also the 2 books are written differently from one another. It's kind of a puzzle to put it together. I haven't really decided if I like that puzzle or not. I struggled through both the books 1 and 2 to fully understand everything that was going on. The characters don't always know what's going on either. I think that the blend of horror and humor in here is so interesting. I think the world is interesting, and I think that Tamsin Muir is simply smarter than me. But I don't know if I like this series or not. How was Nona the Ninth? I'm not sure. Then, unfortunately, we have The Saga of the Unfated by Danielle L. Jensen, who I have loved The Bridge Kingdom from. This is a fantasy romance duology that is inspired by Vikings and Norse mythology. Our main character is secretly a shield maiden, which is like a person blessed by the gods. The king ends up finding out that she is and like takes her to be his second wife, and she's in love with his son who's like her age. The magic of this world feels so much like a Marvel movie in such a fun way, but I wasn't invested in the romantic relationship in this book. I felt like it was telling instead of showing. I think there's a very good chance that I finish out this because it is a duology and a author that I have traditionally loved, but do I really want to be reading fantasy romance when it hasn't been working for me? I don't know. Reviews haven't come out for the book yet, so I think I will be finding out if people who loved book 1 love book 2. Then we have Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. When I first picked this book up, I was under the impression that it was the first book in a series. It turns out is actually a standalone that takes place in this world. A larger empire and a smaller planet who are having a treaty deadline, and there was a marriage that was arranged between these 2 places, and one of the people ends up dying. And a hasty patch-up marriage is done instead, and our main 2 characters are those 2 people who have just gotten married after the one person was killed. So it's like sci-fi with a little bit of a romance angle in a way that I really haven't seen before. I thought that this was good. I thought that the answers here were very obvious, but I was still having a fun time. I was getting through it quickly. And I was like, oh, it's done? So I don't know anything about the plot of the second book. Is it as good as the first book? Do I really care to read a standalone that doesn't have to do with this? Like, I'm sure that the political stuff that happened in book 1 are going to continue in book 2 because like it takes place in the same world. I just don't know if that new perspective is something that I'm interested in. Then we have the Singing Hill cycle by Nevo. So I read book 1, The Empress of Salt and Fortune, and then I got an arc of the 4th book when it came out, Mammoths at the Gates. And this is a companion series. They're all about the same character, as this main character, Cleric Chi, is going around the nation and collecting stories from people. They can be read in any order. They don't spoil each other. Liked book 1 a lot. I actually liked the way it was written. I really enjoyed the story. And then shortly after, I read Mammoths at the Gates, which was even shorter than the first book, and I thought it was okay. There wasn't anything I had a problem with. It just didn't stick with me, didn't stand out to me, and that is actually the highest rated book in the series. So I don't know. I don't think Nevo is the perfect author for me, given that I already haven't liked something else that they've written. Given that I liked book 1 and thought book 4 was okay, are there others in this series that I should pick up, or maybe should I drop it? I keep picking up novellas because people who I watch on YouTube love novellas, and so I check out the novellas that they love, and then guess what? I don't like them because they're novellas. I should stop doing this. Then we have the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. I was not interested in this when I was still reading YA, and then I decided to read this fully as an adult just to be like, oh, let me read like one of the most popular things in the book community. This is about our main character Jude, who is a human who is in a fairy world, and she is having to navigate the politics of that. People are so obsessed with the romance in this series, but I actually did like kind of the political maneuvering part of this, and that it was more focused on the fantasy plot. I know that the second book is by far the most popular book in the series, but I just don't know that YA is for me anymore. I don't know why I picked this up years after I would have been the target demographic, but like, there were things that it pleasantly surprised me about. Is there still stuff here for me to like? I don't know. Now we have gotten into the books that it's been more than 2 years. Every other book that I've talked about so far, I had read in 2024 or 2023. Now we're getting into books that are even further than that. So in 2022, I read Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellfleur. This is a romance companion series. The first book is about a very type A person and a very type B person getting together, and I thought it was good, and I was hating a lot of the romance that I was reading at the time, so I was like, okay, I'll continue, and I was really interested in this because it's like the only mainstream romance series that I know that has like mixed gender pairings across the books. If I gave it like a 3-ish, should I continue picking it up? I think there are other romance authors that I'm interested in like trying for the first time, or maybe there's another Alexandria Bellfleur book that I could try instead of this series, but like I was okay with book 1. Also, the multiple library systems that I am a part of, they do not have book 2. They only have book 1 and 3. Which is so strange. Then we have Dark Shores by Danielle L. Jensen. This I have not touched in a while, not of my own volition. This is a YA series that she's written. There's like this seafaring people and this Roman-inspired empire, and they are both on this island that like the Roman Empire is trying to take control of, and our main character is kind of trying to save those people. This first book was available on audio from my library, and then no other book in the series was available, and so I just didn't continue on in it. I guess I have a couple questions about like the themes of this book and how things are going to change in the upcoming books. Danielle Jensen had to push back the release of book 4 like a couple of years. I think we're finally getting book 4. Maybe there's a chance that these books get traditionally published and will be easier for me to access, or maybe I could get the audiobook. Then we have, I feel embarrassed for saying this, Legend Born by Tracy Dion. I actually read this in 2021, and this is about our main character Bree, who goes to early college at UNC. Boo! Go Wolfpack. But cool to see a North Carolina author be out there. Our main character Bree is wanting to break free of the girl with the dead mom way she's been treated. So she goes to early college, and then she gets caught up in this magical secret society that is the descendants of King Arthur. And she also finds her own magic that has to do with her ancestors and how it has a place, or people don't want it to have a place, with that Arthurian magic. I had never read like an Arthurian legend type thing. So I was like, okay, this will be interesting, and that is what I came into the book being interested about. Here's the thing. I love Bree. I love Bree as a main character. I love all of the magic that she is finding herself. I don't give a fuck about the King Arthur plot. I don't care about these two boys. In fact, they both make me so mad every single time they're on page. And I'm just like, I don't I don't want to deal with this love triangle. There are two boys that are involved. One of them is like the heir to King Arthur's line, and one of them I think is a descendant of Merlin or something. And I don't care about either of them. Therefore, I do not care about the King Arthur plot of this whole book, which is the main plot of the series. I have heard so many good things about the series, which is why I picked it up and why I have kept it on my TBR, because people have really loved the sequels. Book 3 just came out to very good reviews, and I'm like, should I be continuing in it if I don't care about the main plot and I like side plots of this and I like the main character? I'm really interested in seeing what Tracy Deonn publishes in the future. I just think the plot of this series might not be for me. Then we have Remembrance of Earth's Past by Cixin Liu, translated by Ken Liu, the first book being The Three Body Problem. I've heard so much good stuff about this series, and I was so, like, intellectually interested in the first book. It's just written so distantly from the reader that, like, I didn't care about the characters, and I don't think that character work was really what this author was going for. It was more like, let's get the idea out there. Characters are so important for me, but more so in a series. They are the things that are going to propel me to continue on to the next book. There are a couple of scenes in this book that will stay with me forever, but like I can't really string together what the plot of the first book was. Maybe I should just watch the TV show, but I know that it is a little bit different. Maybe I should pick up some of Ken Liu's stuff instead. I, in 2020, read the second book in the Founders trilogy, which does start with Foundry Side. I loved Foundry Side. It was a 5-star. It was one of my favorite books of the year. I thought it was so interesting. It is inspired by the Merchant Houses of Venice, and it has this magic system that is basically magical coding, and I loved that. And I was interested in the characters in that first book. And then I read the second book the second it came out, and I was no longer invested. I didn't really care about the specific plot of it, and honestly, I can't remember a single thing that happened in book 2. And it's been going on 5 years since I read the second book in the series, so maybe I should let it go. I think Robert Jackson Bennett has so much interesting stuff to say. I just think the way that he approaches writing those things makes it not engaging to me as a reader. And that's okay. Like, I'm allowed to not like everything about a series. Like, I don't have to continue reading something if I liked one portion of it, but I just need to know where to draw the line. And I don't know where the line is now. Then we have the series that I think I'm least likely to DNF. And that is the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers. In 2019, I listened to the first book, and I loved it, especially because it was this really highly produced audiobook with like sound effects. It's the closest I've gotten to a graphic audio, and I adored it. I love the characters. It was a 5-star. It might have been one of my favorite books of the year. I don't remember. And then the other books that were in that audiobook production were not available in my country. And I was like, you know, it's been so long. I probably couldn't tell you anything that happened in book 1. I should probably let it go. But when I asked about what series I should continue on in, I believe this is the series the most people told me I need to continue in. People reminded me that this is a companion series. Even though it's been so long since I read the first book, they're kind of written as standalone, so I should be able to read them without needing the knowledge of the first book. As long as I'm okay with listening to a more normal audiobook, I think I should be able to continue in this one. It's just been a long time, and I don't know that I'm going to prioritize it, and it might be still a while until I read the next one. I am reading a different Becky Chambers this year, To Be Taught If Fortunate, so if that one goes really well for me, maybe this will be up next in the queue. Then I have a series that I started in 2018, that is The Dark Tower by Stephen King. I plan to finish this book series in my lifetime, or at least I would like to continue on in it. The question is, like I have done with Wheel of Time now, should I mark this series as DNF now and pick it up and restart it at a later date? I have been given so many Stephen King books by my family. Literally, one of my family members found a person's entire Stephen King collection and brought it to me. I have yet to make a dent in that collection. So there's no reason for me to be reading a Stephen King book I don't own, and I only own and read the first book, which I thought was fine. And that seems to be the general consensus, that people aren't really hooked until book 2, and book 1 is so short. So it wouldn't be a problem to reread it. It's just like, if I wasn't hooked by it, I don't know. Same year, pretty much the same situation. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I would have been in high school, and I really enjoyed book 1. I think I gave it a strong 4-star. I liked the vibes, and I was invested. I just didn't get around to it. There's zero excuse for why I didn't continue on in the series. I think it is something that I could like. It's literally been 7 years since I read book 1. I know that there could be good summaries online, but is it really going to do enough? Like, am I going to have to start the series over if I want to try it? I'm not sure. And the series that I have had unfinished for the longest amount of time, it has been 10 years since I read the last book in this series, and that is Magnus Chase by Rick Riordan. I was the biggest ever Percy Jackson fan as a kid. It is still so important to me emotionally. Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus, and the Kane Chronicles were my favorite things in the entire world. And then Magnus Chase came out as his next series, and I read it, and I thought it was okay. I just wasn't in love with it like I had been his other series. I think I DNF'd this series. I just haven't really admitted it to myself. I don't read middle grade anymore. Is this middle grade or YA? I don't know. I don't want to DNF a Rick Riordan series, but I also just don't feel a pull to continue. Even if I like Norse mythology and I like his writing or whatever, or rather, I did at one point. I kind of outgrew it. So there's a pretty good chance that after this video, just from talking about it, I will finally do what needs to be done, unfortunately. But those are all of the series that I am currently in the middle of that I might DNF. I would love it if you told me down below which of these do you think I should continue in and which of these do you think I should stop. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you keep an eye out in the next couple months because I will be doing a video reading some of these series and maybe some series that I'm more excited for. It'll be a fun challenge to try to get my number down. If you'd like to find me anywhere, you can find me at the links in the description. And if you'd like to watch more videos from me, you can hit that subscribe button because I would love to have you around. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.